Welcome back to my channel, and my dining room has been about 90% complete for quite a while now, except this corner here. I have envisioned building a bookcase of some sort, so that's what I'm gonna do today. I have Keith's help just for a little bit, so I'm gonna have him help me get started with the framing and then hopefully build it out to make it look like it's always been there and it really complements the fireplace. We want this bookcase to appear as if it was always there, so we are going to build it in place. We started with the back piece, then cutting the two side pieces to fit. I'm honestly glad that we decided to go with this approach because we found our walls not to be exactly straight. So it was easier to shim these first pieces to be square. We chose to use pocket holes for the screws to hide them from the outside, and you won't be able to see them from the inside either. You'll see later in the video how these are going to be completely hidden. You're gonna have to push it with your hand. Okay, so this is an extra cabinet that we got from Lowe's. It's a display and we got it for super cheap, but we are hoping to use it for the base part of the cabinet, but we have to raise up the cabinet just a little bit to accommodate the trim at the bottom here. So we've got some blocks here that we're going to set and then put the cabinet in, and hopefully that'll clear the trim just fine. Okay, so we're to the point where we can set the cabinet, but there's an outlet that is in our way and I do want to use it. We are actually going to cut it out to the back of the cabinet so I can plug in like different Christmas displays like my snow babies, or if I want to do like a light or something like that to kind of shine on all my china and stuff like that. I don't know. I just want to have access to this outlet, so we are going to cut it out to the back of the cabinet. So we're going to do that now. Okay, it's the next day and we got the cabinet set and the side walls in place. Now the next step is to put all of the bookshelves in, and I am very good at designing, drawing up, visualizing, things like that. And now that I am going to build it, I struggle big time. So I hope I don't mess it up. I'm really nervous, but I'm just gonna take one little step at a time. There's a lot of detail that I want to put into this bookcase just to kind of tie in the same trim as the fireplace. I want it to be cohesive and make it look like the bookcase was always here. So let's give it a try. I know this probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense with me furring out the sides and things like that, but it all has to do with trim. That's all of it. It all has to do with the trim so it matches the fireplace, so stick with me. I'm sure it doesn't make a whole lot of sense right now, but I'm gonna go ahead and finish cutting out these strips. I need to do like 4 per bookcase, so I'm gonna make sure that each and every single one is exactly the same, so I'm gonna cut those now. So like I said before, this all has to do with the decorative trim, like building it out and everything. And for some reason I was thinking I needed to rip down this board to accommodate for my 3/4 inch trim, but really I didn't. So now I have this shelf that's not deep enough. I have this piece that I ripped down and I'm just gonna reuse it and set it here. And then with this board, by the time I, you know, make it all straight and everything, I mean, I could prop a plate up or something like that. I think I will improvise and it'll just be a nice little groove for a plate or something that I'm wanting to stand up. I don't know, but I think this will work. Okay, so I'm at the point where it's time to replicate this trim on the fireplace to match. And I have this little cove that I'm gonna need to miter the corners, and I really hope I don't mess that up and that it's seamless. And also this piece here that is kind of a half round or whatever. I couldn't find that exact piece of trim, but I did find something similar. I really hope that this comes together, because this is what's really gonna tie the fireplace and the bookcase together. So hopefully this works. Okay, so apparently there is a right way and a wrong way to cut cove trim, the decorative trim. There is one thick side and one thin side. I did not know that. So luckily I had one extra piece, so I was able to mess up twice and then get it right. So I now have the cove base installed. I am going to have to touch up my seams with some like wood filler, but I'm not too worried about that. I think it'll be just fine. And then now I am on to this decorative piece of trim that's going to mimic that half round trim that's around the fireplace. I was going to rip that down to match exactly the same trim, but I think it'll look better if I leave it whole with this little alcove built into it. It's just gonna be a little bit more decorative. So that's my plan, and I think it'll turn out nice. So let's just wait and see, I guess. Okay, trim is coming along nicely. Sorry I did not film more of this because I was on a little bit of a roll and I was back and forth to the saw, trying to make sure that my seams were tight. I was cutting it just a little bit big and then slowly shaving down pieces to make sure it was a tight fit. So I didn't film every time I went to the saw, but I love how this turned out. It's looking so good. And actually, I went to an antique shop that is closing in downtown Indianapolis, and they were having a huge sale, and I needed to find a piece of molding for the top, and I was successful at that, but I didn't realize, beautiful piece, but it has this notch cut out right here. And I'm pretty sure it was from like molding or something. I'm not sure in its previous use anyway. So I glued that little, I think it's called a screen stop, to the little notch, and now I'm gonna rip that down to hopefully fill it in with a little bit of wood putty so you can't even tell that it's there. So I'm gonna install that at the top and probably at the bottom of the cabinet, and then we will get to the point where hopefully we can sand. I'm thinking maybe I will build like a tent of some sort so I can minimize the dust in the house. But I'm really getting excited. It's looking so good, so hopefully we can wrap this up. Need to fill in all the nail holes, but I think this turned out pretty nice. I think I can really fill in just those little gaps. All set up, and I know that it's not going to completely keep all the dust out. I'm just trying to prevent it from going all over the house. So hopefully we can keep it in this centralized location. And unfortunately, I can feel the dust already in my lungs. Ugh, I don't know. Okay, so when I was building this, as you go through building, you kind of realize, oh, I should have done this, or maybe it would have been easier if I did that. It would have been a lot easier if I would have just sanded down all the wood that I brought home, like everything. Just sand it down, get it to a nice clean finish, and then all I had to do was touch up little nail holes and things like that, and I could just hand sand that. I think that would have been a much easier option, but I'm going in. I'm happy to report that my tent did work. I do have to wipe down the mantle and kind of around the area a little bit, but the dust did stay kind of centrally located around the bookcase, and my vacuum did an awesome job at picking up any loose dust that kind of came out around this area. But now I'm gonna wipe everything down, take the tent down, and kind of see if there's any areas I need to touch up, because it's really hard to see in there with just a flashlight and all the dust everywhere. So hopefully I don't have any more sanding to do, or maybe just a little touch-ups here and there. My trim finally came. So I have been looking for this dotted bead trim that is on the fireplace. It looks stunning, and I wanted to tie that into the bookcase. I cannot find that anywhere in any of the hardware stores or anywhere. And I've looked everywhere online, and I found a shop that makes like antique trim, so I'm really excited to see what it looks like, and hopefully it matches okay. I had to pay like $20 in shipping since it's so delicate. Yeah, I think this will work. Turned out pretty nice. It looks like it's a little bit bigger than the beads on the fireplace, but let's just see how it looks when I put it on the bookcase, but I think it'll probably work out okay. Okay, so I went ahead and pre-cut this trim, and I think I'm just gonna wood glue it and tape it into place. I really do not want to put like a brad nail or anything through this really delicate trim. I just am afraid it'll split or something, so I'm gonna try this and hopefully it'll work. Okay, I went ahead and let that trim dry for, oh, it's probably been a few hours. I'm actually gonna start priming the shelving units because obviously I've had that trim done for a while and I know that the glue is completely dry, but I'm worried about the glue that I just put up today with the beaded trim. I wanna make sure it has enough time to cure before I start putting any paint or primer or anything on it. So I'm gonna go ahead and prime, and hopefully this covers well and it hides all of the discoloration that I know sometimes glue and wood filler can, you know, it can kind of give the paint a little bit of a different color, like, I don't know, like it absorbs differently, I don't know. So I'm hoping this primer will kind of smooth everything over.